Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. In today's video, we're going to do a Christmas pendant. For our project today, I'm going to be using one of AB Studio's large ornament blanks. So these come in two pieces. You've got your larger ornament backing and then a round section to sort of elevate your design in the center. I'm then going to be using this beautiful decoupage. This is the winter birds scene by Paper Designs, and right now I'm just working out my layout. I'm going to trace around the oval centerpiece with a pencil so I know what section of my paper is going to be elevated, and then I'm going to very carefully use some water on a paintbrush to create a little cut line to the center part that I want to cut out. So I'm still going to be using the outside of the paper, but I want a soft line around the outside so that it will join up seamlessly when I put it down on the base. So now I'm going to very carefully cut around the center where I've marked my design and then set this off to the side. I'm then going to be using Dixie Belle's Drop Cloth Chalk Mineral Paint. I'm going to paint my little center oval, and then I'm going to also paint the ornament backing in the same color. Just a reminder that you can find a full product list in the description of this video and most of these products on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Once my paint has completely dried, I'm going to decoupage my design in the center first. I'm using Dixie Belle's Flat Clear Coat as my decoupage medium. I'm laying the product down, and then I'm going to very carefully position the rice paper over the top and then carefully smooth it down. To smooth it down, I'm going to be using a ball of cling wrap, and this really helps to reduce friction. Sometimes our fingers can rip and pull the paper accidentally, so this just reduces the risk of that. I'm then going to put another coat of the flat clear coat over the top. Here you'll be able to see that I have positioned the paper over the top of my ornament backing. I have it in place, so I'm just going to lift up a few areas, add the product, and then smooth it down. I don't want to shift the paper and have it go where I don't want it to go, so I'm just going to work in sections. And you'll see here that the waterline that we used to cut the paper is really helping the design to blend back together quite seamlessly. So I'm going to continue to work around my ornament, attaching that paper with my flat clear coat. In a few sections, the paper was lifting because of this unusual shape, so I used my mister to dampen the paper. This allowed the design to relax and made it a bit easier for me to get all of the paper decoupage down. Now I'm going to go back over the top of the paper with another coat of that flat clear coat. When my paper was almost completely dry, I went around the edges and started to very carefully pull at the paper down. So it's still a little bit damp, which allows the rice paper to rip a little bit. And anywhere that I have sections that aren't stuck down properly, I'm just going in and adding some more product. The reason I'm doing this as opposed to sanding is that this is a tricky shape. It would be very hard to get into some of these sections with sandpaper. Anywhere that the paper is not ripping, I'm using some more water on a paintbrush to dampen the paper, and then I'm able to very carefully tear it. So for me, this was just the easiest way to go around the edges and get rid of that excess, but you could always use a small nail file. Again, this was just such a tricky shape, and this is what worked for me. Once I've taken off all the excess paper, I'm going to go around with my flat top coat and I'm going to seal in the edges. Next, I'm going to be attaching the centerpiece that we decoupaged. I'm using Gorilla Super Glue Gel here. It's definitely going to be strong enough to do that job today. I'm then going to very carefully position it where I want it to go. Once the center was secured in place, I went over the entire piece with a coat of Dixie Belle's Gloss Top Coat. I'm doing this because we're going to be adding a few different products, and the Gloss Clear Coat is thick enough that I'll be able to come in and wipe away any excess product that I don't want there. It just makes the job of layering a lot easier. Next, I'm going to be using IOD's Primitive Mould. I'm using Plus Artist Air Dry Clay. This appears grey in colour, but it dries white. I'm gently pulling out one of the little leaf designs, and I'm going to be adding that to the right hand side, and then this mould has a mirror image of that leaf design, so I'll be making several of those for the other side as well, just until I have enough to surround the oval shape in the centre. I'm then going to be using this sweet little bell mold, and I'm going to work some of that same clay into the design. I'm using the larger bell from the three, working the clay in, using my thumb to push the clay out, and then gently taking it out of the mold. I'll add a link for this in the description. Once I have all of my castings ready, I'm going to be using a strong quickset wood glue. I've got a paintbrush that I'm using to apply my glue, and I'm being very gentle. These particular castings are quite delicate, so you need to take your time with this. And as I'm gluing them down on the transition between the little oval and the backing of our ornament pendant, I'm just very carefully pressing down so that I have good contact with both sections. And I'm going to continue that same process until everything is glued down. After 24 hours, I then came in with Paint Couture's Bronze Luxe Metallic. I'm going to be using that on all of the beautiful little leaf designs that we've added around the outside, and also the little bell. So I'm going to continue adding that paint. And if there's any areas that I get on the decoupage paper that I don't want, I'm able to use a wet wipe to clean up any errors. That's the beauty of adding that gloss clear coat. I can just come in and very carefully remove that excess without damaging my paper. I went with bronze for this particular design, but Paint Couture has a lot of beautiful metallics that I cannot wait to have in my shop, so I definitely think that this is going to be a great option for your Christmas crafts. Next, it's time to focus on the bells, so I'm going to add some of that bronze paint to the top and the bottom of that section. It doesn't matter if I get a little bit of paint on the leaves, because we're going to come in with some of Dixie Belle's Palmetto chalk mineral paint now, and I'm just adding that to the leaf details. Again, there's also a sweet little bell in there, and it doesn't matter if I go over the top of that because I can touch that up later. Palmetto is definitely a beautiful green for Christmas, and I felt like it definitely matched the greenery in the rice paper design. Once the green palmetto paint is dry, I'm just coming in with some more of that bronze and touching up those little bells where I went a little bit over them, and then I can focus on the bow. And I started off adding it just to the top part of the bow, and then I do decide to actually go in and add a little bit more to the center just to bring it out a little bit more. Once my paint had completely dried, I grabbed Paint Couture's embossing medium and a small palette knife, and I'm going to add some of that medium to the snow. So I'm trying to create a raised element here, and I'm just adding it, and then you see I sort of drag it down to sort of mimic the fall of that snow. So this is going to add a beautiful raised element. I'm going to take my time as I'm adding this, and I have that clear coat underneath. So if I get it in a section that I don't want it to be, I can use my finger or a wet wipe to wipe it away. So I'm going to continue to add this to all of the areas that have the snow on the fence post, And I'm trying to avoid the little bird's feet there, but it doesn't matter if I get a little bit on there, I can just wipe it off. I haven't got much experience at all using this product, so it was definitely a little bit of trial and error for me, but I can definitely see this being used a lot over Christmas to give that raised snow detail. I just think this is such a fun product to use. If you don't have access to this particular product, you could try using some sort of a filler medium as an alternative, or adding a texture additive to your paint to give that sort of raised detail. You could dab and stipple it on. There are a few alternatives that you could try. Once I'd finished adding the snow to the fence design, I then grabbed my paintbrush and I'm just using the end of the brush, dipping it into the embossing medium and then very carefully dabbing it onto some of the snow elements on the decoupage design. So if you're going to try this, this will be to your liking as to how much you add. I just went pretty subtle here and just randomly added it in certain sections. While my embossing medium is still wet, I want to add some glitter. So I'm putting it down on a plastic surface and then very carefully sprinkling glitter over the top of my wet embossing medium. So it's only going to stick to the areas with that medium on it. Now, if you don't have embossing medium, you could definitely add this by adding a clear coat in certain sections or some glue if you want to add some glitter. Once I've added the amount of glitter that I wanted, I stood the piece up and carefully tapped off any excess. I wanted to add some text up the top, so I'm using IOD's Merry and Bright stamp. I have it on a thin mount. I'm using IOD permanent black ink, positioning it up the top and carefully pressing down. This is quite a subtle design, but I feel like it finishes off this piece. Next, I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Van Dyke Brown Glaze. I've got a little bit on a sponge and I'm going to very carefully go around the edges of my piece and just dab some of that glaze on. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I love to add a bit of age to my pieces. I don't like anything to look too new and shiny. So this is just going to be a nice little subtle pop of antiquing. And anywhere that maybe I've gone in a bit too heavy, because I have that clear coat underneath, I can use a wet wipe to wipe it back and tone it down. If you don't like this look, obviously you can leave this step out. Once my glaze was dry, I grabbed some more of Paint Couture's bronze metallic paint, and just on a little sponge again, I'm going to repeat the same process, dabbing around the outside. This is going to show some hints of that bronze, but it's also going to color the edges of our piece. If you're looking for some more Christmas craft inspiration, make sure you check out my Christmas playlists. I've got 2 to choose from, projects from last year and this year, and I have a lot of wonderful ideas for you to try out. Next, I want to add an attachment on the back for hanging. So I've got this little piece here from a jewelry making kit. I'm just opening it up and I'm then going to put a little ring through the hole that's there. You can see I'm just using a little set of pliers. Again, this was just a jewelry making kit. I'm not 100% sure of the names of these items. And then I'm going to use some super glue to attach it to the back. Now, this is a pretty light piece, so super glue is going to be enough for the job today. I'm then going to be using some beautiful green velvet ribbon that I got from Temu. I'm cutting off a length that I think I will need. And then I'm going to carefully thread it through the little ring that we attached earlier. And I'm going to then tie a knot at the end of it, and this project is done. And here's our finished Christmas pendant. I love how this turned out. I had so much fun using that beautiful rice paper and then pairing it with IOD's beautiful molds and stamps. Let me know what you think of today's project in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and share it out. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.